What's up, friends and listeners from all across the globe? Thank you so much for tuning back into another episode of the Yogi Show podcast. My name is Pedro Luna. I'm here alongside my co-host today, Yogi Brian. You already know the crazy, funny, kooky guy with the beard. That guy. We got an inspiring conversation for y'all on tap with Joleen Emery from Big Raven Yoga. She is bringing inspiring and beautiful art onto yoga mats. Eco-friendly, nice, high-quality yoga mats inspired by art. They're amazing. I actually have one of my own. Shout out to my mom for getting it to me for Christmas. All of this came together after a few brief DMs and conversations and an inspiring story that we wanted to share with you. So let's get right to it with Joleen. Enjoy this podcast. We will see you on the other side. If you are not already part of the Facebook community where we are hanging out, please come over to the Facebook group, the Yogi Show Podcast Community. All of the information to it is linked below. And if you haven't already subscribed to the show wherever you are listening, please do so. It would mean the world to us if you left a review. If you're on Apple, we appreciate all of your support. Now let's get to it. Namaste. There we go. Welcome to the Yogi Show. We are here today with Joleen Emery from Big Raven Yoga Mats. Thank you for being here so much. How are you this morning in warm Minnesota or chilly, frozen tundra Minnesota?
It's actually a really nice day. I think it's maybe 20 degrees or so. So it's a beautiful day. It's not very sunshiny, but we typically don't wear coats on days like this.
Brian, what would you be wearing if it was 20 degrees?
I would not go outside the house. I would sit in a boiling bathtub
all day. I'm from the Chicagoland area where it's like super cold also. Not as cold as Minnesota, but I remember the polar vortex came February of, 6 years ago. And that's what put me out. I was like, yo, I'm out. It's freezing. I got to get to South Florida where it's warm and sunny. And now I'm here. So yeah, it's just,
that year we were all sitting in, they cancel schools when it's cold because, some children don't have coats. Mm-hmm. And like, if you fall down, you'll die, or something. So they cancel school. And we were all sitting in the living room watching TV, and we heard this really loud, it sounded like gunshots. And one of the water in one of our radiators froze and it exploded. And so imagine this old, 200-year-old cast iron radiator just shooting around the house.
No way. Yeah, that's
super
I'm out.
Scary.
Opting out of that.
Yeah, can I opt out? Like unsubscribe on an email list?
Done.
Wow. So
it's cold.
Yeah, it's cold AF. So, thank you for joining us on the show, and we're so grateful. So, to give the listeners a little bit of context on how this came to be, so my mother got me my mom Nancy. She got me she wanted to get me. We had a Secret Santa for Christmas time, and so she drew my name. And she wanted to get me something special. And so she knew that Brian and I were really jamming on the show. And she wanted to get a custom yoga mat with the Yogi Show or maybe Yogi Meme. She didn't really know what to do. So she found Joleen and reached out to her. And then this kind of all came together from there. Joleen was a follower of the show, a fan. And it was really cool. And then her story is so inspiring. So first of all, thank you for the beautiful yoga mat.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Brian, for coordinating it with a surprise and getting all the stuff to her so she can make it happen.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. It is amazing. We'll definitely link it so people can check it out, and I'll put on Instagram or whatever so people can know. Yeah, so people can know more about it.
Like a parent, I'm just like, oh.
But it's amazing. Like the artwork is amazing, the quality is amazing, like everything about it. So we'd love to hear about it. But like, give us a little bit of context in the listeners' little story, because everyone loves a good story. Like, what took you to Big Raven Yoga, making these inspiring, beautiful, artistic yoga mats that are custom for people? What got you there? And tell us a little about your story, because we want to hear about it.
Of course. And before I do that, and I just want to say a little bit about Nancy. So your mom and working with her was like a highlight for me of the holiday season, because we ended up talking on the phone, and she was so charming and so wonderful. She said, I picked you because you have a nice smile. And I was like, okay, great, but how do you know that? Like it was really weird. And she was like, oh, I'm looking at your picture right here on Google. And I was like, oh, she's so cute. And then I asked her all sorts of questions and she just kept saying, you know what? You're an artist. You take care of it. And then I'd ask her another question. She'd go, you know what? You're an artist. You take care of it. And it was so great and so fun. And I told her that I followed the show and she said, she's like, you should tell them you should be on the show. And I was like, I know, but I feel kind of awkward. And so she was like my champion in the background going, just do it. Don't be so afraid. So,
and then here we are. And then here we are on the show. How
cool. Nancy, sending love to Nancy. We should have a mom's show.
Mom's show.
Get our moms on.
She reminds me of me as a mom. Like she had so many lovely things to say about you both. And it was just so great. It was really a highlight of the holiday season. I loved working with her.
So cool. I'm definitely texting her as soon as this show's over.
Oh, good.
Or call. I'm calling her.
I emailed her too. But anyway,
so sweet.
It's like we're on our Christmas card list now. So to tell you about Big Raven Yoga. So I have been a yogi for 18 years and a teacher for, I think, eight or nine.
Oh, nice.
And so yoga has been a big part of my life for a long time. And I've always been a very physical person and kind of physical in the solidarity, individualistic sense. Like I'm a great dancer, but a really big klutz. So like team sports and like things that involve coordination, not really my thing. Like I'm just not able because I'm so clumsy. So yoga is wonderful for me because I can't hurt anyone else. It doesn't matter how well my performance is because it's so personal. So it started for me in a physical sense. And early on, I was very impatient with the process, kind of tapping my fingers and, going, get on with it. Like enough with the intention and, rolling my eyes with, the breathing and all of that. Like it was just a little too woo-woo for me. But you learn as you go, right? And so I have another business. We have a digital marketing agency. And in 2016, my husband and I were on a bike ride here in Minneapolis, and we're avid bicyclists. And we were on this great bike ride around the city, and it was about 11:30 at night in July. And it was so fun. Like you kind of feel like you own the city because it's just a great time to be on a bike ride. Well, we had gone out for dinner and gone out for ice cream, and I just wasn't paying attention. And I was in a really bad accident and ended up almost losing my leg. I got tangled up in some railroad tracks just life changed in a nanosecond. And for a long time, like on, that tape you play in your head, the rewind, I just kept playing. I just went out for ice cream. I just went out for ice cream. How can I possibly be facing this now? So the accident turned into, 4 surgeries. I was in the hospital for several weeks. I went from a wheelchair to a walker to crutches. Darren had to take 3 months off with the Family Medical Leave Act, thank goodness, to take care of me. I mean, it was an ordeal. And I wasn't back to walking for about a year. And again, all the while, I just went out for ice cream,
Right.
And, when people ask about what happened and why was it so severe, it was a complicated break. And it wasn't even anything dramatic. It was just me not paying attention. And again, kind of clumsy. My road bike got caught in the railroad tracks, that little space between asphalt and metal. And there's just enough room for, a tire. And so it got in there and I was clipped in and wearing a helmet, of course. But when I fell, I landed right on the top of my knee. So I broke my tibia plateau and then developed compartment syndrome, which is why my leg was losing it was, on the table of options. So anyway, that happened, right? So now I'm an active person and I'm sitting for almost a year. or, going up and down steps by doing, backwards push-ups. And I had a lot of time to think, a lot of time, to plan. And I was very excited to get back to yoga. Like I really felt my life change a lot that year. And there was a lot of, perspective conversation. Like, I'm still alive. I still have my leg, but I can't go to yoga. I'm not moving. I don't quite feel like myself. It was really strange. So my first practice back to yoga, and I don't know if this happens for the two of you, but for me, there was a lot of crying that happened on the mat that day.
Brian's crying all the time. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll cry in this episode.
Thank you. My everything was different. My strength was different. My balance was different. The way that my ankle and knee and toes all connected in my version of chaturanga, I couldn't believe it. Like, I could not believe what I couldn't do. I might have gone in with, great optimism, which is how I tend to approach most things. Mm-hmm. But I was devastated that I couldn't, it was like, where did the last 15 years of my yoga practice go? So I was bawling like a crazy person. And then I went to take a shower, and in being a clumsy person, I am also a person of ritual. My keys go here because I will lose them. My yoga mat goes here because I'll forget where I put it. So I have a ritual, and I put my yoga mat where I always put it before I take a shower. And that very first practice back, I got out of the shower, dressed, leaving the locker room. I went to grab my yoga mat, and it wasn't there. And so I second guessed, okay, did I leave it somewhere else? Of course I didn't. I always put it in the same spot. But I went through all the motions, and I just had a black standard issue Lululemon mat, the same mat that everyone has. Mm-hmm. But I'd had it for like 10 years, and like, it was a garbage mat. Like, those marks in it, from all your chaturangas or where your feet go.
The toenail grooves.
Yes, exactly. Or like mine sometimes had a top sheen of like a sandy pebble, which would be my sweat turning into salt, like super gross. But I loved that thing.
I got the visual. But
it was like a badge of honor, which is so dumb. But that is my truth. Like, I'd unroll it and be like, I imagine people are going, woo, you're quite the yogi. But so it's gone. And in its place is a brand new, like fresh out of the wrapper, black Lululemon mat. And I was crushed. Like, I wanted my garbage mat, and I cried even more, just like it was raining down, like my leg is different, my knee, I'm not stronger, my mat's gone,
all the stories,
so all of it. So I got home and immediately went to the well of wisdom, Google, and
Google is your mother.
Right? And I was like, okay, so I need a yoga mat that nobody will ever mistake for theirs. So my search terms were cool, artistic yoga mat. And, this was 16, late 16, early 17, I think. And I found some things. I found like, lotus flowers and chakras and like, mandalas and things like that. But that wasn't really my vibe. And so the wheels are spinning, the entrepreneurial, million uses for a paperclip type brain is going. And I turned to my husband and I was like, well, what we have to do now. And, whenever I say I have an idea, you should just see his body language. It's just like, oh God, like what's going to happen?
Hold on tight.
Seatbelt on.
Hold on. That's right.
That's right. Seatbelt on.
Boosters. So I've been an artist my whole life. And I've always really struggled with substrate. Like, where do you put it? Like, you kind of run out of wall space. And it's like, I've always really, it's been this push-pull of, where is the home for the things that I create? And so I was like, aha, I can put my art on yoga mats. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want like the whole safe chakra lotus flower vibe. Like, I want rock and roll and fun and vibrant and crazy and unique, like really identifiable to what is important to the owner.
Yeah.
And that is how it started. It started that day. And now I guess we're 3 years later. We have over 300 designs. We've grown exponentially, which we are so blessed. It's turned into a family business. And it was awesome. And it took me a year to figure it out. Like, what kind of mat absorbs my art? What kind of mat is good for, those of us who practice, all of those things went into our research and development.
No doubt.
Now here we are.
How cool. Congratulations and growing through like whatever it is that you're going through. Like this is a testament for like, when life throws you a challenge, that you're able to overcome and persevere and like create something new, Yeah. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing story. And everybody listening out there, like whatever you're going through, like one thing that I really like come back to, it's like time. Like time is your best fucking thing. Time, like for you, like it was how long that you had to go through that until like a year?
Yeah.
Like
a year.
Yeah. And when you were in it, I'm sure it was just, miserable, right? Miserable.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're here and now Nancy found you because your smile.
Because your smile, like because of your smile. It's like you're the person. Like, yes.
Love that.
How
so blessed.
How amazing, and that's what inspiration. So tell me, so you were always an artist, right?
Yes.
And you, so your walls are filled, I'm sure, with art, wall to wall. Your floors, everything's filled.
Everything.
So what was the first design? What was the first thing? Did you design your own first, like for the one for you? I'm curious.
That is a really good question. No, the very first thing I did was, I do a lot in garbage art.
What does that mean? What is garbage art? What does that mean?
Garbage art is my favorite modality. So garbage art is taking things that people might throw away or no longer have a use for, and then turning it into something amazing. So books and paper and old pictures are like my most favorite things to play around with. So like if you went to a yard sale and you found a watercolor that had lost all of its vibrancy because of age and time, I would take that and recolor it and bring it back to life. Amazing. Or I take old magazines and sculpt them into something different. So like 3-dimensional types of things is my favorite place to play right now. So the first thing I did was vintage photographs. And I found these at the Library of Congress. I found these incredible images of women like you look at them and you don't want to stop looking at them. It's kind of like you fall into them. And so the very first one I designed was a woman in a corset, wearing dark clothes, and she had kind of a light background, and she just had this look on her face that like she wasn't incredibly happy, either in the pose or the clothes or what was being asked of her.
Was she in a chair pose?
She was kind of in like a revolved, something. But I took that photograph, and it kind of like is in line with what you do sometimes with your memes. But at the top of the canvas, I put, I go to yoga because punching people is frowned upon, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I started with vintage imagery and modern day sayings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
you started with memes. With memes.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah, I didn't even think of it at the time. But
the more you know.
Right? The resolution didn't work for me because they're teeny tiny photos, and you can't, just stretch it into 2 feet by 6 feet. So that evolved then into some Frida Kahlo, who is someone I've always admired. So we kind of started down a pulp culture road and then navigated into other things.
That's so fun. That's so fun. And the collections are amazing now, like seeing that you collaborate with different artists. Are most the artists that you bring on locally or are international?
Yeah. So great.
Somebody like out there is like, like maybe which is like whoa, like light bulbs are going off for me. So I can only imagine light bulbs are going off for the listeners about like, this is inspiring. Like, what if like I'm an artist? Like maybe I could create something like this, or maybe they could collaborate, like things like that.
Absolutely.
So this is the invitation, you out there listener that are thinking about it. Like, here's the invitation. Here she comes.
Yes, exactly. So in our collections, we have something called the most popular. And, it actually really surprises me what turns out to be the most popular. It is usually the ones that I call yoga safe, which surprises me a little bit. It just, it's so personal that you can never really, as a business owner, project what people are going to like and love because it's art. So some of our most popular designs are the ones that are a little bit more traditional, like those chakras and lotus flowers that I don't particularly care for. But anyway, so we have our most popular, and then we have a monthly, and then we have a guest artist collection. And our guest artist collection comes to us. It's a collaboration between artists and myself, and we work together to, first of all, get the digital process correct. Because again, we're going to a pretty large substrate, so we have to really make sure that we've got the tech figured out. And those projects are co-branded. So the artist signature is on that particular design. And then one of the things that we do at Big Raven is I've always been pretty sensitive to the idea of putting a logo on artwork. It doesn't really seem quite authentic to me. And do you know who Al Hirschfeld is?
I don't. Brian?
I don't. I think I've heard of his name.
You probably have, and it's kind of a fun he's a fun person to know about. Al was a cartoonist and a line illustrator for the New Yorker for 70 years. And he, his artist signature, other than his name, was he would take his daughter's name, which is Nina, and he would incorporate Nina into his illustrations. So you'd have to try to find it. So long before Where's Waldo, and long before these kinds of things, Al is already incorporating Nina into his artwork. And when I was a kid, I loved when his stamps came out, and I'd have to try to find the Nina in his stamps. So I've been a fan and follower of Al my whole life. And so with my artwork, we do the same. So our name is Big Raven Yoga, but we take the words Big Raven and we hide them or incorporate them into each and every one of our designs, kind of like an Easter egg or a treasure hunt.
Yeah. Very
because
cool.
I don't want it stamped on there. The exception, of course, would be custom work, like we did for you.
I was going to say, is it in mine? Because if it is, I haven't found it.
Nope, I didn't hide it in yours because I always ask permission first, when it's a gift or something. But for the ones we sell on our site, it's incorporated into the design. So in our guest artist collection, it's signed by the artist, and then it also has the hidden Big Raven.
That's so cool.
And so we have a commission structure with our guest artists because I believe, you need to pay folks for their talent and take really good care of them. So Big Raven Yoga takes care of the cost of goods, the cost of sales, the promotion, the printing, the fulfillment. We do everything. And we're excited when our guest artists help us with the promotion and letting people know about it. So if you go to our guest artist collection, there will be some names people recognize. Rachel Pohl is one. Pete Taboda is another. Lynn Sweet, Denise Griffin. We are super, super lucky. So they're all over the place. And then we also have another woman from Minneapolis who is a textile artist. And she had this vision of, she's a weaver. And so she wanted to take one of her textile weavings and see if we couldn't turn it into a yoga mat. Well, it was a technical feat that we were able to get it to work because she made an actual 2 foot by 6 foot kind of rug tapestry. And then we had to figure out how to digitize it. So it looks like a real rug when you unroll it. But it's been digitally manipulated. Yeah.
That's awesome. I had a random idea.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Guinness Book of World Records, largest yoga mat. What is that? Big Raven should do that.
Whatever
it is. Get in the record books.
Stitch them together.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I love that. I'm on it.
Boom.
Yeah. Noted. Noted.
Yes. So, but Pedro, to answer your question, where do they come from? They come from all over.
So
and
cool.
How do they get to be a guest artist? Well, we have a conversation about how the process works and what it looks like and, it's pretty well dialed in at this point. And we love having them because they do something typically so different from what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, honestly, somebody listening to this right now is going to reach out to you. Like, I already feel it. I don't know who it's going to be, but they're reaching out.
Well, that's great. I would love that.
Yeah. And one thing I really want to touch up on is like how in the creative process and being an artist that sometimes you don't like realize what like really works with the people. Like just me like writing memes and me being like an artist that way. It's like sometimes like the stuff that I really like is not the stuff that actually does well, and it's just like weird. And that's why anybody out there that's creating, like, play around, test things, like do a lot of different things with your art or with your creative space, like play around with it.
Yeah, well, I think, Brian, the thing about that I kind of struggle with is that, like, I am an artist, but I'm also a business owner. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like I sometimes, I want a successful business and I want to create what people gravitate to. But then as an artist, sometimes I'm a little bit bummed out, I guess, that the stuff that I really like creating and the stuff that I love for myself doesn't always resonate. So there's this, conflict sometimes between the artist and then also the person who provides for a community. They don't always match.
So yes,
dude,
so relatable.
We get that. It's so relatable. So relatable.
Even like with content and those kinds of things. I heard your podcast with the Bad Yogi talking about content and what resonates. And I listened going, oh my gosh, yes.
Yep.
We have that in our business as well. It's our doodles. Our doodles are loved by the people.
Yep.
And our doodles don't really promote our product.
Nope.
And so I'm just verklempt,
I know. It's like, that's the value though. So that's the thing about that. It's like, okay, the value, some value that I can offer without expectation of return is like the doodles, and it's like other things that we do. It's like, just like when we started Yogi Memes and Namaste AF, when we started our page, it's like it was just for fun, and then eventually it grows into something and like, things come from it. Right. But people always there's always something that people like really come back for, like for the page. Even like when we promote stuff on the Yogi Show Instagram, it's like if we talk about like a specific show or an episode, like people are like, cool.
Yeah, right.
Write something funny. They're like, oh my God, I love this place. I love seeing this. So it's just a matter of like, finding some sort of balance within the content creation. And that goes, and you already know how that works,
Oh yeah.
But that goes out for you listener out there. It's like when you're trying to share a message and someone doesn't really like you have a lot of content you want to create, but you really want to be creating something, but nobody really smashes the heart button when you post about that. But that's what you really like to do. Just keep doing that along with, I guess, like the other thing that you're doing that people like as well. And you'll find balance amongst it all. But this is all a test, man.
Isn't it?
It's all a test.
There's no silver bullet and there's no rocket formula.
No, it's patience and hard work.
Time. It's like getting through all the struggles. It's time is the best thing. Just got to wait out and be patient.
I think too. I think consistency is that compounding factor. Like when you start and stop, I think you're doing damage. I think you have to have perseverance and stick-to-itiveness. That you might not have thought you needed to have.
Exactly. Just like testing, how your artwork goes on the yoga mat. I mean, I'm just picturing it and envisioning it, just me, myself, like making shirts and doing Namaste AF. It's like, man, it's so frustrating at the beginning, like figuring out like what actually works and like, can this even be possible to put artwork on a yoga mat, and then just going through that process and not giving up,
Right.
Yeah.
It was actually it was fun, but disappointing in the early days because at first I wanted the mat to be affordable. But I had a lot of conflict with, how, the foam waffle weave mats, most of them just end up in the garbage because they're not built to last. You can get your toes through them, in a month. And so, but they're affordable and accessible. And so I tried there first and the ink just scratched off. Like you could just scratch it off with your fingernail.
Oh no.
So that didn't work. And then I thought, okay, well, I loved my Lululemon mat, which is polyurethane. So I tried. I bought a bunch of them and then I printed them and they just turned into a slip and slide. Like imagine yourself in Warrior 2 and your feet will not grip no matter what, you're going down. So
it's not going to be pretty for me and definitely not for stone hips up there. Brian Hollum.
So that did not work.
I just thought of yoga and slip and slides. Like that should be an event.
I have a slip and slide downstairs, guys, just so you know.
I have them in the form of yoga mats. So, and I'd roll them up and they would just crack. Like the ink on top would just make like this cracking sound because the process was wrong. I was putting it on. So our mat is different in that, the top is actually like a yoga towel. And so it's got fiber. And so the towel is then fused to the back. And so that's why, Pedro, on yours, the color will never come off because it's sublimated, which means it's baked into the fibers. So you can't scratch it off. You can't wash it off. Like you can't crack it off. It's not going anywhere. It's just like our clothing. It's like in there. And so that whole process was awesome. But then after, looking at a test or unrolling a test or playing with a test, it was like, that didn't work.
Yeah.
It took us about a year to figure all that stuff out.
No doubt.
Testing. And something that just popped into my mind, I listen to Seth Godin a lot. He's an awesome business guy. And he was saying something like with business, like when we go and play Monopoly, it's just a game. And like, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And like, it's just a game. And the same thing is like with business, like we can't just like get super down on our losses or like just testing things out. It's like, okay, it's really a game. Like we just got to figure it out, test it and move on. So just an idea that popped up to my head, but yeah, it's awesome that you like stuck through it, tested it out. And now boom, Pedro's got his face on his mat.
And your face on
my face. I love that too. Downward dog, keep your eyes open, man. I'm right there with you.
You are, man. You are.
We had a customer recently who asked us to hide Let That Shit Go into the artistry of their mat. So that when they're in down dog, like right below their eyeballs, it says "Let That Shit Go," and that was a super fun project. It was fun. I'm like, that's a good idea. I think we need to keep that one.
Very cool. When I was thinking about, you were talking about hiding Big Raven inside the mats and your inspiration behind it. I was thinking about Disneyland, how there's a secret Mickey Mouse on every single ride, and you have to like find the secret Mickey. Did you know about? Does anybody, either of you guys, Brian, you know about that?
Oh, I know that. I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna assume because you're the Disney guy. Joleen, I don't know if Joleen did, but it just made me think about that. I don't know.
Well, I knew about it from like Pixar, like watching. Yeah. Like watching Toy Story with my kids, and then there's a stuffed Nemo on the shelf. It was the same concept, that we would have our treasures or our Easter eggs, and our yogis love it. And I'm so glad that they do. My team doesn't always love it because in workflow, as you can imagine, we have to hide it and then make sure we can see it. And then make sure you can see it when it's printed.
Yeah.
And then when it's not there, then we just feel stupid because we said it was there, but it's not there. So it's another complicated layer.
Yeah.
But I have dug my heels in and refuse to do it differently because I'm almost offended when I see those ginormous logos on a piece of artwork. I'm like, that's just not right. I don't like it.
I get it. I get that.
Not in my space.
I get that. that. So Joleen, tell us, obviously it was in the beginning, there's so much to wake up, inspiration every day when you're waking up to do your thing, as you were like growing the business. Now you've done it for 3 years. So what inspires you these days to wake up and want to create? Like, what is it that that inspires you?
Well, my connection to our guest artists is huge for me. Those are relationships and partnerships that I love cultivating because we really speak the same language. And then the other thing that happens is their fans and followers are delighted to get their artwork in an accessible form because we beautify everything. We beautify clipboards and storage boxes and like everything is beautiful. And which is great. But for the longest time, our yoga mats were kind of like the black Samsonite luggage. Like we all had the same one. It's like when your luggage comes down at baggage claim and there's that big sign. It's like, make sure you got yours. I think yoga mats have been like that for so long. And yoga is so personal. It is just so fiercely personal. And the inspiration for me too comes from our customers who, we have a design called I Love This Quote. And it is a mural of a woman, and she's kind of looking over her shoulder. And it says, I am obsessed with becoming the best version of myself.
Ooh,
and
powerful.
and it's powerful. And we have people tell us that they practice more because of their mat. Like they feel connected to their intention. They feel connected to, the life they're trying to lead. And so that part of it is just so great. And, there's also the contrary. I mean, you don't need a yoga mat to practice. You can do it on the floor with nothing. It's not a necessity. But for those of us who choose, it's just one more of the ways that we feel connected. And I'm so proud that we can provide that for so many. Yeah. And so that really is fuel for me. And then the other thing is, we got one more, we have a compassion collection. And so whenever I talk about this, I kind of cry. So I'm going to
let it out.
Brian,
let it out.
I'll cry with you.
Thank you. So we have a compassion collection where we have a charitable contribution to organizations and nonprofit groups that pair with the design. So for example, we have a design called Pride in You. And it is a beautiful mandala that my daughter hand drew for my son. So my oldest son is gay. And when he came out, it was 7 years ago. And so blessings to the world for how far we've come, even in that time. Mm-hmm. And Jack was hazed. And, and it was weird because he's like this, he confuses people and surprises them, when he, shares that he's gay, because he's one of those people who like looks and acts too straight to be gay, and he's too gay to be straight. So when you're in high school, it's like there was no land for him. Like he didn't really have a community. Shit. And when he came out, it's like he went from super busy to, eating lunch by himself, sitting on the floor at school. And when he was hazed in one particular way, somebody on the internet told him that he should kill himself because he's gay. And my child, who is loved and supported, and, when he came out, it was almost like a birthday party. We were just so relieved that he was able to live his authentic self. I still, it's just so emotional to imagine that he was ever in a place where he didn't think he could say who he was. Like, that's devastating. So when he came out, it was hard for him, but he was embraced and celebrated. And so when this bully on the internet told him he should kill himself because he's gay, this kid wrote your, Y-O-U-R. And it should have been Y-O-U''R'.
Oh, yeah.
So my smart ass son, his reply to you should kill yourself because you're Y-O-U-R gay was to give the little asterisks and correct the grammar.
It's so good. It's so good. Awesome. Oh, my God.
It was so great. It was so great. And Jack was fine. But the point is that not every child will be fine.
Correct.
When someone does that to them.
Correct.
Not everyone has what Jack has or had and continues to have. And we know that. We know that. We see that in the experiences of others. So Hannah designs this Pride in You mat. And it's for Jack, and he loves it. Although he's like, not everything I need to do. It needs to be a rainbow, Mom. And I'm like, fair enough. But that's the design nonetheless. And we donate a portion of the proceeds to the Trevor Project, which does good work helping, our youth who are not as lucky as Jack. And so our compassion collection is like that. So we donate to the Trevor Project. We donate to a pit bull rescue because we have this beautiful pit bull design with an original doodle by a local artist. And so the compassion, and Connected Warriors. Oh, yeah. That's another one.
I used to teach for them. Their headquarters is in my hometown where I live right now.
Have you seen our Connected Warriors design?
I haven't.
Yes. So we have an artist who was commissioned to do some work for them. And it is the power of social media. All I did was do the double tap that I loved this watercolor. I loved it so much. And she reached out to me. Her name is Denise Griffin. And she is now a guest artist in our guest artist collection, but she's also in our compassion collection because of her work with Connected Warriors. So cool. We have a Connected Warriors mat in our compassion collection where we donate to Connected Warriors.
Amazing. I got to go check that out. That's so cool. I used to teach at the hospital for them for 2 years, and
I've
donated to, yes, I've supported them and they've supported me. Yeah. 100%.
That's so great. So if you've seen those beautiful watercolors of, the in yoga poses, it's that now on the yoga mat.
It's so cool.
I know, it's so awesome. So I don't run out of inspiration.
Yeah,
I don't run out. Yeah, I don't run out of channels or lanes or things to do.
I love it.
There's so much more. Like I want even schools, to come to us and say, we want to do a fundraiser. And then I can be like, I would so much rather the world have yoga mats than wrapping paper or more chocolate or cookie dough, right?
Right. Although those are good too, but not as cool.
They are. But as a mother of 4,
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
We're over-indexed in the wrapping paper.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Very cool. I mean, the coolest part about that whole thing is like that you're doing it from a place of love is like what I'm feeling. It's like you're doing it because this is like your purpose, and you found that, and it was through overcoming adversity that you found that, like turning passion into purpose and just more purpose. I mean, you're probably doing such prior, but being able to do it now and to the level you have and the scale you have is really amazing. And just supporting people around the globe, inspiring them with art, like the fact that you're able to inspire somebody to do yoga because of your art and it's on a mat that they're going to practice on is so cool and amazing. I mean, it inspires me when I see mine. And I've been churning after this recording. We're definitely having a conversation about something that I'm churning about in my head with artists.
Sure.
Oh yeah, me too.
I got ideas like the whole, Brian's just stewing with ideas over there.
Yeah, I need it. It's just fucking yoga mat. Like we're going to talk about that. I need it.
Oh my gosh, Brian, remember I sent you a text one day and it was a meme you did and I was like, oh my God, we have to put this on a yoga mat. And I think it was something like that. But in honor of this call today, I have to tell you I did design something with the two of you in mind.
Oh, this is news. This is breaking news, people. We did not know about this.
So I have a picture of it, but I didn't get organized enough to pull it up. But let me just describe it to you. So if you can visualize, it's a black mat with your speckle. So your mat has a little bit of speckle in it so that it's not just completely flat. And then in a big, beautiful cursive is the word fuck. And it goes all the way from the left to the right in this swoopy, beautiful, lovely, fluid script. And then below there are check boxes in white. And it says, it, this, that, me, you. And so I was thinking I would ship it with a big piece of chalk and you can check the box. If it's fuck you, fuck this, fuck it, fuck that, or fuck me. And to that I say, Yogi Show, you're welcome.
I love that. God. That is amazing.
So
and wow. I am stoked for this.
I can't even imagine.
Thank you.
How I'm like stunned right now. Just thinking about checking all of these boxes.
Check them all some days.
Right?
All checked.
Yeah, all checked in one day some days.
Yeah, all the above.
Yes,
that's amazing.
I was talking with other artists who like in jewelry and in, cards and other things like they're, putting all this, naughty language. And I was like, should I do that with yoga mat? And they were like, yes. Okay. And then, looking at your memes and the things that you say and preparing for today, it came to me.
I love that.
Wow. That's so cool. That's so cool. I can't wait to see this come to life.
It's cool. Yeah. I'm sure I will release it in time for the launch of the show.
Yeah, we will. We'll coordinate so like that all can work. Yeah, we'll coordinate everything.
Can't wait to pop it out in a studio I go to.
God. Like, where did you get that, bro? Like, oh, let me tell you this little story.
Well, my husband did say, he's like, are you sure that's yogi appropriate? And I was like, not at all. And that's why I'm doing it. So
yeah, I'm not sure anything that Brian says is appropriate. So whatever.
I've been called anti-yoga, ruining yoga. Like it's just, it's part of it, but you know what?
Hey, Brian, how do we dust the haters off? How do we do it though?
Dust them off. Arms high, exhale, dust them off. Like.
I agree with you. As a teacher for years, I would say, you know how like everyone comes in and it's kind of like yogi church. Mm-hmm. Like nobody really says anything to each other, and you like keep your eyes on your own mat, you know, and you don't smile. And like I used to like go to my morning practice, and it was a power yoga class, and this gang of women would come in and they'd be talking and like joking around. And I'd be laying there on my mat, like with my fingers in my ears, just annoyed, you know, that how dare they, you know, ruin the sanctity of the space. Having conversation. So
by being a human, right? Having conversations.
Yeah, right. But I do think yoga has this thing, you know, where it's so serious and it's so, you know, like everything is just so like an anchor, right? Yep. And I feel like some things are bobbers, you know, like it just can be on the top. It doesn't need to be like that. So, and it started with me, like getting my fingers out of my ears and allowing people to have community and a space to be happy instead of teaching them a lesson by shoving my fingers in my ears and huffing. How dare you?
Isn't it so funny when you change your, like, just to hit on that for 1 second, because the class I teach at the studio with a large class, and like I'm all about community. So like I've made everyone like, not me personally, but like I like to bring people together to connect. So like talking and all that stuff is like all of that is happening. And but at the previous studio I was at, like in Chicago, like nobody was, it was Bikram, like you don't look, talk, nothing, zero. And it's so interesting to see the polar opposites of that. But at the same time, like being in this space, there are people that are probably looking for the quiet thing, but you become a little bit used to it, or you become open to the fact that like, oh, there's more here than just connecting with myself. Like I'm actually connecting with others and that are like-minded. And there's a lot of growth and things that can happen from that when you're just, when you're open to it, not plugging your ears, like open,
right.
You know, but
it started with me. Right.
Yeah. And it always starts with you. It always starts with us though. Like it's our own shit. Like it's not anybody else. Like it's our own thing, you know?
No, but I sure made it theirs. I was like, oh, how dare they?
Yeah, I catch myself daily. That's why I gotta tell myself over and over again, like it's just fucking yoga, and that's like to me. Like I have to say it to me, just because. Yeah, it's like it is a community, and like it's not just me, and I'm not competing with anybody next to me about what they're doing, or you know, it's just like my mat. So yeah, I have to tell myself daily. It's just like it's just fucking yoga. Relax, Brian. Like don't make it so serious, and say fuck if you want.
Right. I agree. As I have demonstrated with my art.
You have. Yes. Yeah. You have. When you just started listing off all the fucks, I was like, holy cow. Like
there are so many, right? Like it totally fits.
There really are. Well, this has been so fun, Joleen. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you for being here. We're looking forward to the fuck mat and all the other things that all the infinite possibilities that are really available to anything, you know, that all the things that you have going on that you're creating. And this has been a great, what a treat to connect with you, hear a little bit about your story, your journey, and your inspiring art. And you're changing the world. You know, you really are, you know, one mat at a time. For sure, 100%. You know, no doubt.
Aw.
Sure. So
this is so great. And to Nancy.
No doubt.
Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Nancy.
So, all right, friends, we're going to sign off for today's episode. Brian, you're the man. And I love you both. Jolene, you're amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
And we'll link everything back on theyogishow.com for this episode, where to check it out, how to find big Raven yoga mats, and learn more about Jolene and whatnot. So thanks for being here, and namaste, friends.
Namaste.
Stay.
And there you have it, my friends. Another episode of the Yogi Show podcast in the books with Joleen Emery from Big Raven Yoga. What an amazing story. She's so fun. We are looking forward to this mat collaboration. So please head over to theyogishow.com if you're interested in grabbing a mat that says The Yogi Show on it, our logo, a fun design. We're working on creating other ones as well, so they may be in there for you too, but I'm not going to tell you about them, so you got to go check it out. And BigRavenYoga.com for all the other artist-inspired, beautifully handcrafted designs. So shout out to Big Raven Yoga. Thank you so much for being on the show. Shout out to DJ Taz Rashid for hooking us up with the music on the show. Once again, if you are not part of the Yogi Show podcast community, please head over to Facebook, search the Yogi Show podcast community. We will accept you. Join here. If you don't have a community of yogis to hang out with outside of your studio, your home, wherever you are, your hometown, whatever, come hang out with us. We are here for you, and we have so much fun connecting. Thanks for being here, and we will see you next time. Namaste, friends.